This is an exciting day because I'm sharing one of my community or my audience's favorite recipes of all time today. It is my chicken lemon and risoni soup. And if you know, you know. So basically it's pretty easy. It's probably 10 or so ingredients, so not too complicated. It doesn't fully feel like a soup. It feels like this warm, nourishing, comforting meal, but obviously all in one pot. We've got some garlic, some shallot. We're working with chicken tenderloins today, some cannellini beans just out of the can, so it's super easy. Some parmesan, lemon, spinach, stock, and risoni, of course. And if you have followed me for a while or you're one of my active community members, you know that I love risoni. It's one of my favorite, and it's just literally a little pasta. So people sort of go, what's risoni? It's just like a little pasta, and it's called orzo in the States for any of you listening in, because that's a real, there are two different names for it. But yeah, super excited. My chicken, lemon and risoni soup, everybody that has tried it has loved it, and I'm super excited to walk you through it today. So we're gonna start with a large pot onto medium-high heat. You're gonna add a good squeeze of extra virgin olive oil and let that heat up nicely. Take about 30 seconds to a minute to heat up. First thing I'm gonna add is shallot. So if you're not familiar with shallot, it's just a type of onion. It's a little bit milder, a little bit sweeter. I have one here for you to show quickly. It just looks like a mini onion, but I just find they have a sweeter flavor, and so in some dishes they work better. So add that in. Great, sizzle, sizzle, we like to hear that. And you're just gonna keep that moving and cooking for, 1 to 2 minutes before we add our garlic and our butter. Oh, you can already smell it. If you don't have shallot at home, or if you had most of these bits and pieces at home and you thought, oh, I really wanna make that soup, I don't have a shallot, just use brown or red onion. Totally fine. They're perfectly interchangeable, as I always say. It's just they have a level of strength, really. Some are more potent than others, and so some work better in some recipes. Let that sizzle away. I'm gonna turn that down now before it starts to burn. Okay, so after about 2 to 3 minutes, when that shallot's really started to let out some beautiful aromas, you're adding your garlic. So here I've got 5 cloves, and I just give them a smash. I love keeping them whole in this recipe. Obviously in the end of the soup, there's these beautiful, soft garlic cloves throughout the soup that you might get one when you're eating your bowl. If you don't like the idea of that, then you can just chop them up. But keep them moving so that they're not burning. Just about 1 minute with the garlic. And even these garlic are quite big, so I could even just, while they're cooking and softening up, you might even want to just split them in two with your wooden spoon, because these are very big garlic cloves, and not sure if you want to get a whole one of them when you're having a nice bowl of soup a bit later on. Keep that moving for about a minute. I feel like that's almost starting to colour a bit much, so turn that down. Then we're adding about a tablespoon or so of butter to the pan. So you're adding it now, scoop it all out, let it stir in with that shallot and the garlic, let it melt fully. Beautiful. Oh my gosh, it smells. I just love this soup. I love the whole process of making this soup. It's sort of such a comforting, joyful soup to make. Beautiful. So that's melting away beautifully. And then we're about to add our risoni. So I think I've got a cup, 1 1/4 cups here. And the whole idea is that you've cooked off your shallot and your garlic started to cook off, but you're now gonna add your risoni in, and it's just gonna coat, that butter is gonna coat all around the risoni, so that when we add, our bits and our stock and everything, it's beautifully flavored. So pour that in, and then you're just gonna coat it all in that butter. Yum. Get it all toasty and buttery. And just for about about a minute or so, coat that all through. And that's just developing beautiful flavour there. So I'll let that cook away for about a minute. Okay, so we've just coated all that risoni in that yummy butter mix. It smells amazing, smells so yum. Now we're gonna add a few of our bits. We've got some chicken stock here. I'm gonna add quite a bit of chicken stock, about 1.5 litres, and then top it up with a bit of water, because that risoni is really gonna absorb the liquid. So don't be freaked out when lots of liquid goes in now. I promise you that risoni will, once it cooks over the 10 minutes, will really soak up that liquid. We've got the chicken tenderloin, so that's about 600 grams. But again, that's quite flexible. So I'll put them in first, pop them into the pot. They don't really need to be coated, but you can give them a stir if you want. And then we're gonna start with our stock. So great, that's 3 cups, so I need another. Let me just top that up. So that is stock. Now I'm adding 2 cups of water. And again, it seems like a lot of liquid, but you'll be surprised how much the risoni will soak it up. Then my little secret mate. So this is a parmesan rind. We go through lots of parmesan in our house. I love parmesan cheese. So every time I finish a wedge and that's left over, I wrap it up in Glad wrap, pop it in my freezer, and these are they're wonderful to put in any soup really, minestrones, any kind of soup that you're making in winter, some one pot wonders, things like that, that are real comfort foods. I'm just gonna drop that in there, and then while the chicken and all of it is simmering away, the parmesan rind holds a heap of flavour. So it's just gonna give a real wonderful depth of flavour to the soup and make it creamy and gooey and yummy, and then we'll fish that out down the track when we're adding our last little bits. But pop that in, and then we're going to give that all a stir. We've got everything in there, and so basically what we're gonna do now, bring it to the boil. So you're gonna turn it right up and get it bubbling away, and then as soon as it's bubbling away, you're gonna bring it down to a simmer. So about, 40, 50% heat, whatever kind of induction or hot plate or whatever you're working on. Bring it right down and let that simmer away for about 10 to 15 minutes while that chicken and the risoni cooks in there and the parmesan rind lets out all its gooey goodiness. Okay, so our soup's just been simmering away, 10, 15 minutes roughly, just on a gentle a very gentle boil or simmer. Now I'm just removing got a couple there. My tenderloins. Not my tenderloins, but the tenderloins from the soup. We're gonna grab them. They should be just cooked, so 10 to 15 minutes, but obviously you're gonna put them back in the soup. They'll stay in there for a while, continuing to cook and whatever once you put them back in. And then, each time you have a bowl of this, if you heat it in the microwave or on the stove, they're getting cooked again. So, it's okay if you get them out when they're just cooked. They'll continue to cook. I think that was the last one. I probably should have counted how many went in. I just want to show you here, look at the gooey. I'm not going to take it out just yet, but see, it'll be very hot. But see, it's all like gooey, all the risoni's kind of sticking to it. And that, we're going to keep it in there a little bit longer until we put all our last bits. That's going to continue to flavour the soup. So shred any way you like. No perfect way. Usually just hold something down, so 2 forks, although I just weirdly have used a lot of forks in my cooking today. I only had one in my drawer. So just like this, literally just like that. Hold one end down and then pull. And tenderloins are I love cooking with tenderloins. They are so tender, which clearly, pardon the pun, makes sense. So they just pull apart super easily. That's what I love about them. Again, you can make this with chicken breast or chicken thigh and do the same thing. So you put it in when you put the tenderloins in, and you'd pull it out at a similar time and shred the meat. I just find, I do cook chicken breasts in soups. I do just find they dry out quite easily. And that's the difference between tenderloins. They stay quite, if I don't say tender, I'll say moist, but I don't really like that word. So you know what I mean. But look at that, beautiful pulled meat. It's all cooked, all white, and it's just pulling away beautifully. So I've shredded my beautiful chicken. And then we're obviously just adding it back to our delicious soup. Try and get all those little bits of risoni that came with the chicken back in. They'll continue to cook, so that's fine. All right, great. So that's all back in there. Don't forget about our parmesan rind. Look at that. Oh, just looks like one of those old school, like traditional Greek soups, like a lemon or soup. Like it's just the smell. Oh, I love it. And we haven't even finished off with the yummy last parts either. Lemon. So actually first I'm going to add your can of, drained cannellini beans. I always say give them a good rinse. Sometimes that brine that they're in can be a bit tricky to digest and things like that. So make sure you give them a nice rinse. I might just turn it up a little bit while I'm adding these last bits. Then we can turn it down. You can see those beautiful garlic cloves sitting in there. Then lemon. So grab a microplane or a grater, however you get your zest. And we're literally just going above the pan. And depending on how much zest you like, go for whatever. I always say though, a little handy tip, you don't want to go, once you start seeing white on, the outside on your skin, stop when you see the white, because that's the pith. It can be quite bitter and can really be noticed. Maybe not in a massive pot of soup like this, but you just want to get that thin yellow outer layer, because that's going to give us the best flavour. Best zestiness for our soup. Oh my God, this lemon's seen better days. My God. Anyway, we like using all the fruits and veggies, don't we? Even the bruised ones. Okay, that's probably enough zest. Make sure you get what's caught in there too. Lots gets caught in there, so just stick your finger in. Then just get your main pips out and be careful when you go to squeeze that this isn't very pippy, this one. Oh, there goes one in, whoops-a-days. So we'll do it like this and we'll just catch any pips in our fingers. Good squeeze of lemon. Look at that beautiful, juicy lemon. And I've got a few pips in my fingers. That's great. So we kept them. Then I'm going to stop there with the lemon because you can see at the end how much more you want to add. Pinch of pepper, you know, just add a bit and you can always add more. Actually, before I add this Parmesan, I'm going to get out my gooey rind. Let's go fishing for him. Where's he gone? He's hiding from me. Where are you, dude? Actually, you know, I often, yeah, there he is. I often get it out before I add like the chicken back in, but I just love it sitting in there for longer, just adding a bit more flavour and a bit more, you know, gooiness and whatever. If you want to, you can just scrape off the bits that come with it, but that's pretty good. So get him out of there. He's done his job. Now, Parmesan. You can grate your Parmesan on whatever. I do love this little machine, little appliance, but it's about a cup of Parmesan. So you can get pre-grated if it's easier for you and just throw that in, or shave or grate your Parmesan before, and it's about a cup that goes in. So add that extra creaminess. Hold on, I've got a little bit stuck here. Hang on. Where'd you go? Okay, that's better. And roll, roll, roll. It's gonna make this soup extra creamy. Just yum. Beautiful. Stir that through. Just the smell. It is such a comforting, beautiful soup. And the last thing is our spinach. So I actually should have used the whole bag, but a big, you know, spinach, it melts down to nothing. So pour in a whole lot, whole lot. I'm actually, sorry, while I'm at it, just gonna grab, I say a nice, I think this is, yeah, 120 gram. A 120 gram of spinach works beautifully in this soup. And then, as you know it, spinach melts down to nothing. I'm gonna add a little bit more pepper. And that's basically our soup. So we're gonna wilt this spinach, give it a minute, and then we can have a try, and it's up to you. If you wanna make it more creamy, you can obviously add more Parmesan. If you wanna make it more lemony, you can grate more zest and squeeze more juice in there. But it is with a nice piece of sourdough, a good quality piece of sourdough in the toaster, with smeared in some butter, because you know that's the only way to do it, and then you dip it in the soup and eat it with the soup. My God, I think it is my favorite soup of all time. I came up with this recipe on a rainy day once at home. It was freezing cold outside and I really was craving a soup, and so I looked in my cupboard, looked in my fridge, and these were the sorts of things I had, and I went, yeah, I'd usually use, you know, chickpeas, or I'd usually use that, but I was like, oh, I'll give it a little go, and came up with this recipe, and it is so many people's favorite. Honestly, the amount of times I meet people and they say, oh my gosh, your lemon risoni soup. I've made it 1,000 times. My kids eat it. It's so easy. It's so yummy. It's my favorite soup. It is such a ripper. So I'll pull out a bowl in a second and show you, but that's it. So let's serve up a bowl of this beautiful, delicious, comforting chicken, lemon and risoni soup. Got a big garlic clove there. Give it a good stir, get all your goodies. There we go. Then if you wanted extra Parmesan on top, make sure you get your toast. I'm not going to do that now, but a bit of pepper, and let's have a taste. It's going to be boiling, so I need to be careful not to burn my mouth. I mean, I already know what this tastes like, but I could have a bowl of this pretty much whenever. Oh, never disappoints, this one. Honestly, I just had lunch and I could sit down and have 2 bowls of this. It is so, so delicious. Bottoms up. And that chicken, it's so tender. Like, it just melts in my mouth. Absolutely 1,000 out of 10, if that's even possible. I almost forgot. For my chili lovers out there, or my people that love spiciness, a bit of chili flakes on top just rounds out the soup. If that's what you're into, definitely. Now I just got to have a little try with my chili flakes, and from my memory, these ones are particularly hot, so I better be careful I don't blow my mouth off. Oh yeah, so if you're feeling like a bit of chili, she's got some kick. I remember these ones particularly, they're like very hot. But yes, if you like chili, pop a little chili flakes in there and it gives you that extra little kick that you might be after.